In this episode of the Tech John, we discuss TikTok, even though still technically banned in the United States, being made available once again on the App Store and Google Play Store. TikTok has also announced the 2025 Soar Together initiative, a Black-owned business accelerator program in collaboration with Black Girl Ventures. Meta laid off about 5% of its workforce last week, supposedly low-performing employees, but many of these folks exceeded expectations and even got raises and promotions right before being terminated. Did all this and more, plus a spotlight for you this week and every week during Black History Month. This is episode 166 of the Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech, aka where are we at on Valentine's Day? I always want to say, hey, happy Valentine's Day for those who celebrate. But you know, the whole argument is, Valentine's is a made up consumerism holiday for people who don't love each other, to show each other how much you mean to me just one night a year. There's that camp. And then there is, you know what, man, my camp. I used to be in the A camp. Now I'm kind of like, you know what, man, mind your business. If you want to celebrate Valentine's Day once a year, you want to do something extravagant, or you want to do something simple, or you don't want to do nothing, that's your business. Stop telling people what they need to be doing with their holidays. I'm leaning towards that camp. So which camp are y'all? Are you the bah humbug, or are you the everybody should love?
I'll go first. And to borrow a statement that you say regularly on this show, Terrance, you're not going to catch me slipping. I'm going to celebrate Valentine's Day. You know why? Because I've been married 24 years, going on 25, and I'm trying to make it to 26. So, and I'm not going to even front. This Valentine's Day, I didn't do much more than a card. But my wife, however, scheduled a dinner date with some very, very close friends, some family of ours, actually. And, we went to Maestro's. So I'm not complaining about that.
I'm gonna pretend like I know what that is.
Right.
Maestro's is a very, very, very nice steakhouse. That I only participate on things like anniversaries and Valentine's Day because I like playing card notes too.
True.
What about you, Stephanie, as a resident single person?
Live and let live. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I definitely I kind of did used to be not anti-Valentine's Day, but like, listen, I do you. Life is short. Do what you want to do. I mean, I do some Galentine stuff.
Sure.
Every year, or most years anyway. But I mean, you know, I don't know necessarily if I was not single, if I would make a big deal about it. I mean, we could have that conversation and be like, hey, are we doing something like in advance so somebody's not caught out there on the day? But yeah, it wouldn't be a big deal for me to not do something.
Got it.
Or do something.
Or no expectation of somebody doing something for you, because most people
it would be very nice. And you know what I mean? I'm not gonna say I would accept whatever the thing was, you know, but it definitely would not be expected.
Okay. All right.
Now I don't do, what is it called? Sweetest Day. Have y'all heard about that one?
Well, I'll give you another one that's a little bit more graphic, but continue.
So I like Sweetest Day seems like that was made up by Hallmark or something like that to sell some cards.
Well, Sweetest Day was kind of like the reverse of Valentine's Day, because Valentine's Day, it's the woman's day. So Sweetest Day is like the reverse, to where now it's the woman's turn. We're talking about gender socialization. Now it's the women's turn to do something nice for the man, because typically everybody attributes Valentine's Day as, it's the man's responsibility to do this thing for their wife or partner or whatever the case may be for Valentine's Day. And Sweetest Day is supposed to be the opposite of that.
I've literally never heard of that.
You never heard of that?
I've never heard of Sweetest Day. Like,
well, of course I've heard of it because I'm a dude.
Of living, this is news. This is what's the date on that?
I think it's later in the year. I want to say September or something. I can't remember, but I planned to see it a little bit earlier. There's another day that's March 14th. I know this day for real because the name of the event is Steak and BJ Day.
Wow.
So
that's some made up shit. That's definitely
You
some
do the
made up
math, you
shit.
do the calculations, you do the
That's
research,
some made up
you
shit.
Google it and figure out what that day is supposed to be about. But that's the day I know.
You got that joint circled on your
I got
calendar?
that. I forget some things, but not all things.
Yeah.
Circled, hearted, starred,
Reminder,
highlighted.
like Siri, remind me, and make it annual, yearly. Remind me yearly.
That's
You got to do it with
hilarious.
Siri because Google them probably pulled it off the calendar.
Right. Off
But
somebody else's calendar.
But anyway, y'all, before we get to the tech stories this week, I want to do something a little different. We normally do our shout outs. If we get new patrons, we always shout them out at the end of the show. But we do a show that regularly goes an hour, sometimes a little over. And I know people get, they don't necessarily have the entire time, so they end up missing those shout outs at the end. So I'm going to start doing them at the beginning. And we're going to start this week with Adam Scaramella. So we want to give you your flowers, bro, for holding down the show, and jumped on, became a patron, jumped right into the Discord, and is already hanging out in Discord as well. So want to thank you for doing that. And for anyone else who would also like to support the Tech John, the way that Adam did it is by becoming a patron. You can do that by heading over to thetechjohn.com/Patreon, and you will find multiple tiers over there, any one of which will get you access to our live stream and after party. And we just appreciate anyone who does it. You will get a shout out on the show where we will let the world know that you are supporting the Tech John. And once again, thank you, Adam Scaramella.
Appreciate you.
So with that being said, Steph, I believe you stuck this up in here about TikTok, and it looks like you can download TikTok from the app stores again. So what's all that about?
Yeah, TikTok is back in both the App Store and Google's Play Store. I think did I say in one of our past episodes when we were bringing up the band, like, mark my words, or like, did I for posterity? We're gonna have to go back in the
For argument's
archives.
sake, let's just pretend you did.
I feel like at some point I said this is what we were going to see, and there, the band wouldn't be a band, and life would go back to normal. And that is basically, at least for now, what has happened. TikTok has returned to the App Store and the Google Play Store. There was a written communication, is what they're calling it, a quote unquote written guidance that got sent to both of those companies that assured them that they would not face any federal fines or blowback or anything of that sort for having these apps on their platform. So and this was from the woman that's the new
Mm-hmm.
Pam Bondi, right?
Yeah, the new attorney general of the US. So nobody's commenting. I don't think this was supposed to have gotten out yet, because everybody is keeping very, very hush on this whole thing. My whole thing is, I'm wondering what the sort of what the play is here, because we still don't have a buyer. A few people's names have been thrown around, but there is still not a buyer for TikTok. We don't have a whole lot of time left. It was only 75 days that the executive order extended the suspension of the ban. So it'll be interesting to see what the play is here. Trump has said he would try to extend that extension even further once we got to the end of the 75 days. But yeah, it's just like, what is the play here is what I'm wondering. What's the end game gonna be? Because I still don't know, and I don't believe that that they're gonna be able to sell this app. I
Not
don't think that.
according
Yeah, I
to
don't think that's happening.
Congress. According to Congress, they were like, they've got to sell all of it, not half of it, not part of
Mhm.
it, not a portion of it, all of it. Donald Trump is like, we can do some partnerships, or we can just take it over, or whatever, which is not concrete.
Right.
Congress, to me, is the more concrete one. So, but as far as the play is concerned, I think Apple and Google are more like, look, man, we're just going to turn it on. Y'all figure it out. Let us know when we need to turn it back off. and we'll turn it back off. But all this stuff is going on. We turned it off. We turned it back on. Y'all stopped it, started it. Forget it. People can get it. Y'all already said y'all not going to punish us for whatever the case may be.
And I think that's all they wanted. And they have that
Right.
in writing now.
Right.
They have that assurance in writing that, listen, whatever y'all ended up doing, it ain't going to be us. Our name is Bennett and we ain't in it. But, you know, Trump's executive order does violate the law. I mean, there's a law on the book, so it's just like what is, you know, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, because we may
Kicking the can down the road,
under a whole different type of government in 75
Yeah.
days. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see.
Maybe it's a stall tactic. Maybe it's kick the can down the road, because again, I don't see how, unless you just say we was playing, our bad.
Right.
Let TikTok do whatever they're gonna do. There's no other way to do it, because Congress wants it all.
There's
sold.
a law. There is a law.
And there's a law. Right.
So
that's the law. You got to sell it all.
Here's my take on this. And y'all may think I'm coming out of left field. Maybe you don't. But I don't believe that the current administration cares all that much about this being sold in the first place.
Oh, really?
Here's the reason why. I believe that this is being used as a test case. What do we know? There is a law that was passed by Congress that was signed into law by a sitting president of the United States. That's law. It is just as much as the 13th Amendment made us not be slaves anymore and the 14th Amendment made us citizens. There's a law that says that unless this company gets sold to a entity that is not based out of Beijing, China, it is going to be illegal to use in this country. Now, a couple of things. It's not if you already have it on your phone and you can still get access to it. That's not illegal. Download. It's the companies are not, they're not allowed to support it. So that would be Google, Apple with their ability to put it on their Play stores, and even Oracle and their ability, because most of the U.S. data is running through something called Project Texas, based out of Texas in Oracle. They would have to shut those services down. Now, Oracle rolls real hard with the current administration. They never shut it down. They just needed the verbal on it. Apple and Google were like, yeah, we want to see this in writing 2 or 3 times first before we move on this. At least that's what the reporting is saying. But my take on this is that if you are trying to amass as much power as you possibly can, you have to, as the president, sit aside laws that you don't like. That's that's when you start to move into the into the autocrat dictator type of situation. So
you mean like set aside isn't like ignore?
Yeah.
So what are we actively doing right now? The executive order doesn't make this law not exist. It's just he wrote something down on paper. I disagree with this law, and I'm pausing it for 75 days. Apple and Google's like, cool, you could do that, but we don't have cover until you give us cover. They now have been given cover. And the reason that I'm saying that I don't necessarily think that they even want this to change is because this happened last Thursday. Also last Thursday, the administration said, you know what, if we need to, I can extend this. I absolutely have the power to do that. So why are you even talking about doing an extension of your initial 75 days if you don't already think that you're going to? So why would you want to extend it? Because I truly, this is not something that I have been told by anybody. This is just what I believe. I believe that if you are trying to figure out how far over the line you can step, a law that is as widely unpopular as this ban of TikTok is, because Americans are not down with this. They do not want it. They all want TikTok back. They're, many of them, regardless of your political leanings, are very happy that President Trump brought TikTok back to them. They're happy. So, okay, well, here's a law that people don't like. Let's see if we can line step this one and see what we get away with. Now, what is the recourse? At some point, you're probably going to have a court that's going to come in and say, you cannot just set aside a law that is unconstitutional. But here's what happens. What if the president says, so what you going to do? It's not like the courts have the ability to go make the president do anything. Only, the president has ultimate power in this. It's like he runs the Justice Department. If he decides not to enforce these laws, who's going to make him do it?
It's interesting. I don't necessarily disagree 100% with that, only because, of some of the things that I've been seeing around the idea that this administration is trying to move to some sort of autocracy and dictatorship, like for real. However, they could get this done in Congress. Like, you know, laws get repealed and overturned by congressional vote all the time, and they have
Mhm.
the votes in Congress to do it. So, like, I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, because that would make too much sense, number one,
Mhm.
and be too much like right. But you know, and to your point, Rob, this would be an easy way to be a canary in a coal mine, so to speak, around testing out the limits of executive power and things like that, because the app is already so popular. Nobody actually really wants to see it go away. So if I can ignore this law, this would be a good time to do it. But you could also just overturn the law. I mean, like I said, you have the votes to do that.
Well,
So it
what a precedent that sets. If you have a sitting president say, "I'm ignoring laws that I don't rock with," and if you don't like it, change the law. You're Congress. You can change the law, change it to my liking, and then I will sign the bill. But if I don't like the law that is already on the books, I'm simply going to ignore it. And I know that I'm being draconian, and I say that, and I'm, that I'm stepping into
no,
that. But
actually,
here's what it is. It's like I look
this
at
is
it
where
like
we
this.
are.
It's like, you know what? I really don't like the Voting Rights Act of 1964. I'm not prosecuting nobody anymore. You know, my DOJ is not going to prosecute anyone. So these are all going to go to the court. The court says, well, you have to. And my man says, nah, I'm good. What are you going to do at that point? Well, some would say, well, the Congress has the ability to to impeach a president and remove him. It's like we've tried that before. That didn't work the first time when we tried it twice. You think now
The
it's going to
first
First
happen?
14
times.
times.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, to me, this is, we're going to line step. We want to see how far we can get, because if you can get away with it on the TikTok law, then you might say, you know what, I'm really not feeling, the Voting Rights Act of 1964. I'm really not feeling, the action, Civil Rights Act 1965. I'm not feeling that, so I'm not going to, as president, I'm not going to
Do
deal with these
anything.
laws. I'm just going to do away with
Mhm.
them. In essence, we're going to be lawless on this point because I don't like them, and I dare you to make me do something different. And that's kind of where we are on this. It is absolutely not legal for a president to create an executive order to overturn a law, because it's like, well, I literally have heard people say, well, this is just TikTok. And it's like, well, it's just the 64 Civil Rights Act. It's just the 13th
No,
Amendment
it's
to
a
set
slippery slope.
phrase free.
It's
It's
a
just,
slippery. It's definitely a slippery slope. And the crazy part is, like, JD Vance would be 10 times, 1,000 times worse.
oh,
Like, that's the thing. It's like I almost don't even want an impeachment process to happen, because he would be so much worse.
Mhm.
But
Because he thinks he's
yeah.
slick. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, this is, it is what it is, and like I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Um, the law says a person of Chinese a person or people in China cannot hold directly or indirectly more than 20%. So they don't have to sell it outright, Terrence, to your
Okay.
point. They can't hold more than 20%, which
Okay.
still probably, and it would be that whole
But the whole,
algorithm. The sticking point for China is the
mhm,
algorithm. They don't
right.
want to give that up.
But again, you're right. You're probably absolutely right to where it's 20%, right? But that wasn't the argument. That's the law. The argument was, we don't want China in our data. They didn't say we don't want China in our data all but 20% or
mhm.
whatever the percentage is. If you don't want Chinese meddling your data, which is, again, we've always argued that that could be the case, but if that's the case, and it needs to be the case for everything, not just TikTok, that's besides the point. But the fact that you know they said we don't want China in our data, but now they're kind of going back on, well, just a little bit of our data,
They never cared about it. It was never
just a
about the
little bit of
data.
data,
We
just
all
20%.
know it was never about the data.
Yeah,
Right. That's my point.
if I'm
That's my
reading the
point.
tea leaves as I see them and I
Mhm.
look into the future, I think this will be extended until
Mhm.
Congress,
Gets tired of it.
they actually do another law
And we'll
to be
all
in
look
line
up
with what
a
we're
year
cool
from
with.
now and be like, whatever happened to that TikTok law?
And
You know what I mean? And nobody will be able to say, like,
But
oh,
what?
that
it got repealed, or Apple and Google are going to face penalties now, or like, we going to look up in a year and be like, what happened with that TikTok shit?
it is a test, and we've already seen the administration say they are not rocking with birthright citizenship anymore. That's 14th Amendment. And what people don't think is like, people, like in their limited knowledge
in court, though.
I'm sorry.
That has been challenged and struck down in court. Like courts have upheld the 14th Amendment.
But what if he says so? What can the court do to make a president?
We'll have to find out. And I think
that's where I think we're going to find it.
And I think Trump and them is no, when I say if that is the case, then the play is I put the ball in your court. It's back at your court. So it ain't my problem now. Y'all said, back in your court. So I can see them again. Sounds like ultimately they're just trying to pass the buck, and however they can pass the buck is however they do it, whether it be delay or repeal or not repeal or put it back in Congress's court or whatever. But ultimately they're kind of like we just want this to disappear because
a stall. It feels like a stalling tactic.
Right.
But
that's a heck of a precedent. Like I said,
the way this administration is going, you just never know.
If we think back, it hasn't even been a year, but we go back to April when they put this in place. This was a very, very bipartisan bill that was passed. It wasn't like it was just 51 to 49. No, this was very, very overwhelmingly bipartisanly passed. And the president said, "Hey, if you pass this in a bipartisan way, I will sign it." That happened. And now new president's like, "I don't like that law. I ain't rocking with it." 75 days is paused. And now not even 3 full weeks into the 75 days. And if I need to extend it, I will, because I have the power to. I'm just, it's just
me. I mean, I feel like, hindsight being what it is, that Congress shouldn't have been so reactionary about this in the first place.
Nope.
It was just a bad thing, however bipartisan it got,
and now they're trying to make it
pass. Yeah, it was just a bad law to begin with, because they still don't really understand privacy, as we need to have it enacted in this country, and they're not doing anything for real to address the real issue around privacy and data and protection in this country. So it was just like it was a knee-jerk thing that
now they got to sit with.
Now they got to sit with. Exactly.
If I will bet each of you $1 that if they get away with TikTok is just going to run until the law gets changed, that the president will test 22nd Amendment, where he can only run for, you can only run for president twice.
Well, that's already been that bill has already been introduced as well.
Yeah. But once again, it's like, the Supreme Court has said of the president, as long as he's doing official acts, you can't try him for that. So the only way for this to work is Congress. Congress has to step up. And I just don't think they will. I don't think Congress is constructed that it's going to get up, it's going to step up and stop him from doing anything.
But on a completely, and I don't want to belabor this too long, because, we can go down a whole bunch of different rabbit holes. But, I think you too can also just ignore it, not even in hopes that it goes away, but in hopes that people will forget and just won't care enough to, because, there are still miscegenation laws on the books around this country. You know what I mean? And in certain states around the country, Black and white people can't get married and be together still in 2025. So,
but people just kind of just be like, whatever.
Like, ain't nobody checking for that. Ain't nobody going to prosecute y'all. Like, people have just decided to look the other way.
We have decided.
We, the people, have decided to look the other way instead of spending money and tying up court,
fix it,
and all this other stuff to actually change it. And I feel like this may end up being a very similar situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Generally not done at the federal level, but we'll see.
Well, we have incompetent losers at the federal level. I mean, like they who better to let some shit slide, than the people we have running this country right now.
You ain't never lied. So we gonna keep talking about TikTok because they're just dominating the news. This part of it is not nearly as political as that last part was, but TikTok Shop. is making a lot of money in the United States currently, like in January when it was banned for most, for the last 10 days of the month, making ridiculous money. Steph, tell us what's going on with TikTok Shop and how it's putting the screws to Temu and Shein.
Well, unfortunately, I could not access that particular article, but you do have something. I do see your notes in here. TikTok Shop, the e-commerce feature of ByteDance, social media giants outpaced Shein and PDD Holdings, growing 153% in January after launching in-app shopping in 2023, and that is going to maintain its strong 2024 performance. Yo, TikTok Shop got me in a chokehold. I will be the first. I have had to really intentionally say, I ain't buying nothing. I do have one thing on the way.
Oh, you couldn't even keep your own sentence straight.
Brush cleaner for my makeup brushes. This brush cleaner thing. But I get a lot of my tech now from TikTok Shop. A lot of the holder. I just saw today, Rob,
gadgets,
a Osmo Pocket 3 metal magnet kind of holder, you can stick it wherever and use your Pocket 3. Where I was like, ooh, I think I gotta need that. So and I was like, man. So yeah, TikTok Shop got me in a chokehold, and they are doing something to try to help Black creators in TikTok Shop. They actually launched what is called the SOAR program last year in 2024. It is back in 2025. It's a Black-owned business accelerator program, but this year they are in collaboration with Black Girl Ventures, and this program aims to help Black businesses grow on the TikTok Shop. So it's a 6-week program. 20 businesses will be chosen to receive educational courses, business coaching, and mentorship from guest speakers. So I just thought, since we were talking about TikTok, we can throw something in there for folks who are looking to set up shop or already have a shop set up on TikTok. Maybe look into this SOAR program to get some additional resources and support for your business.
That sounds like diversity, equity, and inclusion coming out of TikTok.
Oddly, sounds strangely like a little DEI. But listen,
it's not like TikTok has ever said they had a problem with it. It's the government that says that they have a problem with it. But
well,
go ahead.
We've had stories in the past where TikTok has, allegedly screwed over some Black creators.
It ain't allegedly, they have screwed over.
Right.
Yeah, it's not allegedly. They have done
Plenty.
it. Got the receipts.
So I'm wondering if this is more of a,
like a mea culpa.
Not that, but more of a, we need to get Black folks on our side so we can make sure TikTok keeps going. We didn't try to get these folks. We didn't try to get these folks. We didn't try to listen. All right. Black folks, help us. We're going to do this accelerator.
Well, I think they understand, just like every other platform, that y'all shit ain't lit if we not there. Right. So let's do what we got to do to, keep folks,
keep the culture moving.
And I mean, because it definitely feels like, I won't say bare minimum because they don't have to do anything, but it ain't much. It ain't much, but 20 businesses will get some help with something.
I think this is part of it. It's going to get run. The Tech John is talking about it. There are other shows that are talking about it. There are other websites that are talking about it. So that is a plus for TikTok. The other thing too is that TikTok, they understand demographics. They understand numbers. They understand what's happening. This is a true statement. The most entrepreneurial demographic in the United States are Black women. The most. So if you have a demographic of people who are creating the most startup businesses and we can sell their products very effectively on our platform, it absolutely makes sense from a financial standpoint to hook up with the people who are the most entrepreneurial, the ones who are creating the most businesses in the United States, and get them on our platform. It
makes sense for all of the companies for DEI, but you see what's happening. So Ray called it performative DEI,
and that's what I was going to say.
That's not a bad way to describe it.
And not only that is, can we not? I don't want to say we falling for the okie doke, but it's like, they're trying to buy our, whatever. And do we need to buy it? you
But
know that, but I
can we
can't,
get the bag in the meantime? Like,
right.
it's such
Yeah,
a
I get
rock
it.
and a hard place type
Tug and
situation.
pull,
Yeah, you
compromise,
know,
sacrifice.
I
Yeah, yeah.
know. It
Hmm.
sucks.
I will just say this to black women, to black men, to any woman, to any man, to any person that is creating a business on a platform that the law says is illegal in the country. You just got to be careful, because
Yeah,
here's
that
the
part.
thing. I fully expect at this point that the administration is going to pull the TikTok thing along long enough to where Congress will probably just say, you know what, let's just go ahead and just revert this law. I think that's what's going to happen. But there is a problem. If there is a new president come 2020, come 2028, if we elect somebody new, they may come in, and if they are not in agreement, they may say, all those laws that are on the book that we just decided not to ignore, or we
Let's go
decided to
ahead.
ignore, we're not
Mhm,
ignoring them any longer. And I
mhm.
guarantee you that Apple and Google will, like, if nothing actually gets resolved, they will, and like this is, the law is still what it is.
They'll
I guarantee
abandon
they
that
will
joint
abandon this joint.
again like they did it this time.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It'll they probably just have a button, hit the button. It's just shut down for both of
Right.
them.
Off.
So
They done customized the preset already.
Right.
They got some dude in the office like this. Click.
so
I
let's
will say though too, just real quick about the whole Shein thing. Like I've only shopped on Shein maybe twice.
My daughters do a lot.
But I feel like there is, and I'm sure it's probably a lot of the same companies peddling a lot of the same products on each
Sure.
platform,
Sure.
but for some reason, the stuff on TikTok does feel like it's of a higher quality,
Oh, does it?
and it's not just cheap China stuff.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
you can buy Fenty Beauty on TikTok.
mhm.
You can buy legitimate brand name products on TikTok. So I think that's the difference. You're
Got
not
it.
getting Fenty on Shein
Mhm.
unless it's
Right.
a fake, or
Right.
like some low budget dupe or whatever. So
Get some fentanyl, not
right,
Fenty.
right. So I right with the label off,
Right.
one letter off or whatever, something like.
Hmm.
I think that's the difference
Mhm.
in what Shein and TikTok are doing. Right. I don't even really think it's not even really an apples to apples comparison, honestly, when you look at the type of products TikTok
Sure.
offers versus the type of stuff you see on a Shein. Like I
Or
said,
Timu or whatever.
yeah, Temu is even worse, honestly.
Hmm.
So I think you gotta look at that too. I think it makes perfect sense that TikTok Shop is killing it because a lot of the stuff you buy there is stuff you would be buying anyway
Mhm.
at Sephora or
Hmm.
wherever else you shop. Like, a lot of
And
those
it's just
brands are
stuff.
brands you would be buying anyway.
And like for me, like I'm not on TikTok shop like that, but I have bought a couple things, and it's just like at the time I was on TikTok, the thing that I was like, should I get this now? Wait,
Mhm.
it popped up, and I was just like, the price was too good to be true. So I was like, at the worst, I just wasted $12.
Right.
So you buy the thing, and it gets here, and it's like, oh, this is amazing. You know what I'm saying? I got a weed eater, not a weed eater, but a weed puller. So in the fall and the spring, get the weeds out. I'm looking at it on TikTok. It's like, this can't be true. But again, what's $12 killing me? I ain't gonna die
Right.
if I
Right.
lose
If it don't work
$12.
out.
Right. If it don't work, but then I get it and it works. It's like just like TikTok said it did, and the same, I got a pair of shoes, a couple things. And it's just like, it's cheap, but it's good quality and it works.
And there's
So
something to be said for user generated content. I mean, you're
Right.
watching people and use these things and engage with these products, quote unquote real time for all intents and purposes. And you're seeing like, oh, that actually looks like a pretty decent quality piece, or I
Hmm.
trust this influencer, so I'm gonna,
Right.
believe them when they say this thing is worth it. So
Hmm.
there like it again, I don't even feel like it's an apples to apples comparison when you look at the two.
it definitely isn't. I'll give you some firsthand experience. I personally have never purchased anything on Shein, Temu, or TikTok Shop, but my wife, like I said, we went out for dinner for Valentine's Day. She had on this fire red jumpsuit that she bought for Valentine's Day. She got that off of TikTok Shop. And I was like, this kind of where you get that from? It's like, she's like, TikTok Shop. I was like, you can get that kind of stuff off TikTok Shop? She's like, yeah.
Listen,
now
you can get anything from TikTok. Got me ready to run out and buy, because I bought a pair of, and again, totally off topic. I bought a pair of Hoka's recently, running shoes, because I wanted to just, I used to run in Brooks all the time. And I was like, let me just try something new. Everybody's wearing these Hoka's. Let me get some Hoka's. They aight, but now I'm seeing all the on ads on TikTok. And I'm just like, man, those look, I may need to try them.
And they are legit. They are a legit competitor to Reebok, Nike, and Adidas when it comes to walking and running.
Right. And I had looked at those when I went and got my Hoka's, but I was like, but I'm more familiar with Hoka's, not really so familiar with On. They had them at the store too. And I just went with Hoka. But I'm like, now that I'm seeing, all these TikTok videos, I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll go try them, because they have trainers too. Hoka's are just running shoes, and I do need a good pair of trainers. But like I said, you're getting well-known, established brands, along with other stuff that might only cost $12, but still is a decent enough product to do the job. Like TikTok Shop is going to win hands down, like every time.
Like I said, I would just leave folks with this. Just be careful. If you set up shop on there, understand that it is against the law right now for TikTok to exist in the United States. Until that changes, just be careful. I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just saying don't let that be the only place that you set shop up, because it can change.
Our people. Our people. It's like, I'm gonna get this bag while the getting is good,
and I ain't gonna build this website like I know I should.
I'm just gonna go ahead get this quick dough, and then when they shut it down, it'll be like, well, I guess the welding ran dry.
Go ahead on, set that website up real quick, Playboy.
So y'all, this next story we want to talk about. I don't know if y'all were even paying attention to the news like this last week, but Meta laid off about 5% of its staff last week globally. And I believe it's like 3,600 employees. And at the time, actually going all the way back to January, they announced that it was coming. Mark Zuckerberg in a memo told staffers that the company had, quote, raised the bar on performing management and was planning to do more, quote, do more extensive performance-based cuts. So basically, they decided we're going to do layoffs, but instead of the regular layoffs that we do, numbers aren't right. We're transitioning people from this department to another department, or resources from one department to another department. They flat out said, it's like, we're going to lay off low performers. But the problem is that LinkedIn last week was flooded with posts from employees who were let go without ever being placed on any type of performance improvement plan. They didn't receive any corrective feedback, or in some cases, they got terminated after they had got raises and or promotions right before their termination. So the question is will Facebook, are you telling us the truth? Did you lay these people off for performance, or did you just lay them off because they're not in the department that you want, and you're tired of telling the street? You're trying to tell people who invest in you that you are changing course, with 5% of your staff.
Consolidating, yeah.
So I want to get you guys' take on that.
Well, you got to go back to, when was that? I did a segment for it. I guess what OpenAI came out in 2023, November 2023. So I can remember, when that happened, I did a segment about just all of the mass layoffs that were happening at that time. I mean, there were like tens of thousands of people being laid off at companies, across the tech companies across the country. And at the time, the part of the rationale I gave then, I think still holds today, is just, that's where they're trying to funnel their money. You know what I mean? We gotta free up some space to bring on these new, prompt engineers and AI specialists and stuff like that. We need servers and all that stuff is more expensive. And I just think everybody now is doubling down on AI, and Meta's no exception. And, you don't want to necessarily look like the bad guy, so you can couch it around performance and cutting the fat and all that other stuff. But when people start running their mouth and telling the truth and shaming the devil and be like, look, I just got a promotion last week and now they done let me, you know what I mean? And then the truth comes out. So just say you want to put more of your resources towards AI and keep it pushing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're allowed to lay people off. I mean, it sucks, but people get
Just
laid off
say we're
every
laying
day.
people off. Yep.
Right? Just say that.
We're trying to cut costs to look good for shareholders. So the way we do that is lay people off.
Yeah,
That's it.
The sad part of this is that if you worked for a company like, if you're a developer at Facebook, that's not an insignificant job. It's like they Facebook does pay well.
Sure.
And those folks are going to be out in the market, and you would love to be able to put on your resume that you worked at Facebook. But in the back of every recruiter's mind is like, oh, wait a minute. If you recently were at Facebook, well, we know they just laid off 3,600 folks. There was low performers. If you weren't a low performer, I mean, there's some folks on LinkedIn. It's like, I just got a raise and a promotion. And then in a couple weeks later, it's like, how could I be so bad that a few weeks later, I'm now being laid off? These are little stories that are all over LinkedIn, that are all over Reddit. But you now are going out and you're trying to get another job. Do you not want to list Facebook on your resume? Well, you probably don't want to do that because now you're going to have like a gap in employment. But you list them on there. The question's got to come up. It's like, why'd you get let go?
Or the reverse will happen is I see if I'm a employer or a headhunter or a staffer that's looking to fill positions, and I see somebody coming from Facebook, I'm like, oh, I can lowball them because they need a job.
Absolutely.
They need a job. So yeah, and they're a low performer, and they are a low performer too. Oh, you about to get $30,000 less, and I dare you try to compete me.
And that's a shame because they shouldn't have kicked them people to the curb like that. I mean, like I said, it happens every day. People get laid off all the time, but you're pulling the rug out from under people, literally,
for no other reason other than just pure greed.
Right.
And this will be a question. Maybe we have to hit up Sierra Gross, founder and CEO of Worklution, to ask her, do you think that if you get laid off and you accept the severance? Because from what I've heard, the severance is nice at Facebook. But if you sign all your paperwork and you get that severance, can you then no longer sue them for saying that you were laid off for low performance? Is that something they would have a class?
I'm sure there's probably something. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably
that's
something.
Just common sense. As much as I would hate to do it, I would do it because
listen, you got bills.
That's business.
That sucks.
I mean, there's probably going to be some people who will try to stand on the principalities of it. Like I said, these are very well-paying jobs. Maybe some of these, I don't know who that would be, but some people at this company that got let go, maybe they said, you know what, I'm not signing this. I just got promoted. You laid me off and you said it was for performance. It clearly is not that. So you're terminating me for something other than what you said it was.
Tell the truth and shame the devil.
It maybe try to try to sue. But I would imagine that most folks, I ain't saying that everybody work at Facebook is paycheck to paycheck, but I would imagine that the percentage of them there are the same as the percentage everywhere, more than half.
They ain't got time. They ain't got the cushion to try to sue nobody and let it drag out for 2 to 5 years. Nah, I need this check. My
immediately
car note is mortgage. I can only flip mortgage and pay out of my rainy day fund for a month. After that, we in trouble. So let me keep this job, or let me just take this L and just go slump and find another job and figure it out again later.
It's slimy.
And I would have to feel like cool. Too, other companies know what it is too.
Oh yeah,
so
we hope so.
I don't. Yeah, so
Microsoft's
it's like,
doing this, and we heard Google's doing it. So
right, so it's like y'all know what it is, and so the idea that this would be a ding on my
blemish.
On my resume, a blemish on my performance reviews and stuff like that. I don't know. And it seems like in that, I've never been out to San Francisco to like be in that ecosystem, but I feel like there's enough, I don't want to say incestuousness, but that's the word that's coming to mind. That people trade employees all the time. This whole kind of shuffling of the deck happens all the time. I hope anyway that most of these people will land on their feet. These are highly skilled, tech people. My hope is that they'll land on their feet and that people will understand that this is the game.
Hiring managers will understand. And all
this
those
is
people,
just we know they had to let you go because they trying to put some money and resources to this, and so y'all come on over here because y'all, wherever they go, that may be the same situation for them in 2 or 3 years anyway. So
which
it's
is makes it even more sad.
right.
which
Game,
is
recognized
why
game. That's all.
people quiet quit. This is, I think it's rebelliousness. People are quiet quitting. They are remote because they don't want to work from home. It's not that they don't want to go to work. It's just, this is my way to rebel because of all the greedy, crooked things that y'all do. The
Mhm.
least I can do is figure out how I can sit at home while I
And have
work
some
for
kind of
y'all.
work-life balance for myself.
Yeah.
Since
Right.
y'all turn my life upside down whenever y'all feel like it,
Whenever
you
you
know,
feel like it.
yeah, ain't no loyalty no more.
No,
Ain't
And that's
nobody
why
said to
people
do
leave
something for
jobs
30
every 2 to
years.
3 years because it's in retaliation.
and I
Mhm.
honestly, I was a hiring manager for most of my career in IT. I started in IT in in the mid '90s. By the late '90s, not really all that late. 1 year past the mid, I was in management and stayed there until I left corporate altogether in 2019. So there you do become loyal. The company that I worked for, it treated me well for almost the entirety of the time that I was there. It really did. So there was I was willing to not go someplace else and stay where I was at because I knew what I was getting. I knew, I trusted that my manager said, hey man, I don't have it in the budget to do it this quarter. Next quarter, I got you. I believed it because I'd seen it happen in the past. And it's like, okay, it's like, you know what? You're taking care of me. So I'm going to, it's like, I know I should have got this raise this quarter, but if I got to wait till next quarter and you're going to give me a couple extra percent, I'm going to do that because I know what it's like to be here. But now you're getting to a point where people just don't care. It's like, it's not
Ain't
even,
none of that
folks
no
ain't
more.
even giving you, 2 weeks notice. It's like, hey, we haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Oh, well, I quit. It's like, well, when did you quit? Well, when did you notice?
Right.
I
That was my
literally have heard
notice.
somebody say that
Right,
before.
right.
When did you notice I was God? Well, that was my last day.
How long did it take you?
And
Yeah.
then so before we just end the segment, I will say this, folks. When you are doing your any type of performance review and this and that and the other, you almost always, if it's not a great review, you keep that documentation. You're reading through it. You want to make sure okay, they about to get rid of me. I want to make sure that I'm living by the the letter of the law. But a lot of times we think that when we have a good review, oh, I'm good. So you don't actually print that joker off. You don't send that to your Gmail. It's just in the system where you work. And the problem is that when you get let go, that system gets shut off. Now there are things you can do. You can go through your HR after you've been let go and try to get access to that, and they will make it available to you. But you jumping through some hoops now because, and Sarah Gross, when she was on the show, she did say this. Just understand that your HR is working for you, but they're working for the company first. It's like that. Their customer is the company. If they can do right you while they're doing right by the company, that's going to happen. But don't get it twisted. They are not your advocate. They are the company's advocate, and are trying to keep any problems from arising for the company, not necessarily you personally. So that's just the thing to remember. So I remember I would always tell folks when I was doing reviews with them, hey, make sure you go in and just capture everything that we've talked about. Make sure you have a hard copy of that for your own records in case anything happens. And I had to learn how to say that because it would almost put people on edge. Wait a minute, I thought I had a good review. It's like, why are you telling me I need to do this? I'm like, it's always good to have a personal copy of whatever we talk about in these official conversations. Just have it. That I do it. You should do it as well.
And shameless plug for Sierra. Her app is called Work Receipts, WRK Receipts, and it does all of that for you. You can import performance reviews, you can save emails, you can just have that record and repository all in one place of any of your communications with your manager, with HR, with another coworker if y'all got beef, you know what I mean? Like you can keep all of that in one place just in case you need it.
Sierra is what you would call a prolific poster online. She posts a lot, but the last 3 weeks or so, the posting frequency has kind of diminished a little bit. I bet you she and her company are as busy as they possibly
inundated.
can be.
Yeah.
And something tells me they talking to a whole lot of federal employees right now. So, So, y'all, it is Black History Month, and even though Google may not have it on the map anymore, or the map, in the calendar anymore, and although the federal government isn't really recognizing it anymore, we recognize it. Every February and every other month in the year, we recognize Black history because there's a ton of stuff that our folks have done that we should be proud of and make mention of. So I believe you've got a good one for us this week, Steph. Who are you telling us about this week?
Today, we are learning about Melba Roy Mouton in our Tech John Spotlight. So, on the surface of the moon stands a mountain as wide as the state of Delaware and taller than Denali, the tallest mountain in North America. In February of 2023, a month honoring the struggles and triumphs of Black Americans, this mountain, carved by billions of years of lunar impacts, was named Mons Mouton. It earned its name from Melba Roy Mouton, a Black woman who had a vast impact on the early history and development of space science. Born in 1929 in Fairfax, Virginia, Melba Mouton earned her master's degree in mathematics at Howard University in 1950. Having made her start by working for the Army Map Service and the Census Bureau, Mouton that went on to join NASA in 1959, only 1 year after the space agency was established. As the head mathematician of a group of mathematicians known as human computers, a role made famous by the 2016 book and film Hidden Figures, Mouton assisted in the launch and tracking of the Echo 1 and Echo 2 satellites in the early 1960s. With complex mathematical considerations such as the gravitational pull of Earth, other planets, and the moon, this would have been a Herculean task even for an electronic computer. In 1961, Melba Mouton became the head programmer for the NASA branch responsible for coding the early computer programs, which would later permit NASA to track orbiting spacecraft. After 14 years at NASA, she eventually retired in 1973, but not before becoming the assistant chief of research programs for the Trajectory and Geodynamics Division at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. Mouton's stellar contributions peaked with the 1969 landing of Apollo 11 on the moon. For this and other accomplishments, Mouton was honored with an Apollo Achievement Award. Melba Mouton died in 1990, but her life's work has made a lasting impact on space exploration, satellite technology necessary for the phones and computers we use daily, and on the toponymy of the moon. Mons Mouton is even being considered as a landing region for Artemis 3, the first crewed lunar landing mission since 1972. Her legacy and work continue to be inspirational well after her passing. So, shout out to Melba Roy Mouton, our Tech John Spotlight of the day.
Black women just be doing. They just be doing it.
She had a whole mountain on the moon named after her.
Like, what kind of flex is
I
that?
wasn't aware.
Hey, baby.
I wasn't aware that the moon's craters were caused by things running into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's.
I think that's kind of the only way, in the absence of gravity. That's kind of the only way you could do that.
Yeah,
like,
there's no atmosphere there. There's no water there, so there's
atmosphere.
no.
That's what I meant.
There's no reason for erosion other than impacts. So yeah, that's all the stuff you see on the moon impacts over, I don't know, billions of years. So that's cool. So
I want a mountain named after me.
But what kind of flex is that?
You do want Valentine's gifts and stuff, huh?
I want a mountain named after me.
But can you imagine that? She passed away in 1990. That's not that long ago. I mean, I graduated high school in 1990. It's like at some point she's talking, "Hey, grandbaby, we look at looking through the telescope and you see her mountain on the moon. It's like that's your grandmama's moon right there, grandbaby."
Right.
I mean, what kind of conversation is that?
Grandmama's mountain. That's right.
So Melba, I've always said her name. I thought it was Mouton, but it's Mouton. Okay.
That's what I saw her pronounce it in one of the articles I saw. So I'm just going with that.
So glad you corrected me. But anyway, y'all, that is our show for the this 17th day of February. Before we get out of here, I do want to let folks know that one other way that you can support the show is by heading over to thetechjohn.com/shop. We have a store. And there's some new merch that just showed up this month in our merch store that we've got hosted. So if you would like to support the show by getting a hoodie or a sweatshirt or a mug or a mouse pad or an apron or a hat or a beanie or whatever it is you would want with our mask on it, with the Tech John logo on it, head right over there to thetechjohn.com/shop. And anything that you purchase over there, helps us do this show and bring the tech to you the way that we bring it to you. And it is very, very much appreciated. So with that, Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph or head to my website at stephaniehumphrey.com.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I'm at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we're also at the Tech John, the Tech JAWN on all the things. So come holler at us however you holler. Until we meet again in a week's time. Peace.
Peace.